Okay, let's cut the speed slightly. So here we have a Golf driver driving on the oncoming side, typical. What's up guys, welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to be reviewing the Jaguar XE, the Landmark Edition, which is just a very kind of unique addition to the XE. Quite expensive and quite rare as well. So I thought it'd be appropriate to start this video with a nice cup of tea, just to embrace the Britishness. So let's get into it. I'll show you the exterior first of all, and the interior, how this car drives and how it is to live with. I don't own this car, but I have drove it around for about 2 weeks, and that's gave me a good enough understanding of the dynamics of the car and whether or not I would actually purchase one. So this is the Jaguar XE Landmark Edition, which is very interesting because the Landmark Edition is actually based on the R Sport model. I had to say that quite carefully, but anyway, so considering it's based on the R Sport model, sorry, it looks absolutely sporty, and it gets a few extras as well, such as a sport front bumper, these unique beautiful 18-inch alloy wheels which I absolutely adore, obviously the gloss black exterior trim, and 3 distinctive colours to choose from. You also get Landmark badging around the car, along with a 10-inch infotainment screen, which looks glorious in this car. Switching on the ignition, you get the highly admired Jaguar logo on the infotainment screen, and upon starting the engine you get a cheeky needle sweep from the rev and the speedometers. The dashboard is rather nice and squidgy, but probably doesn't work as well as a stress ball. Talking about quality and materials, the overall quality of the cabin is very good, and it's up to par with its German rivals, although it's not as consistent, as in some places you do feel the cheaper plastics being used underneath the door panels, and in places you wouldn't really touch or feel. However, the build quality is still overall pretty decent. And you have this nice white stitching over here, which just adds a bit more interest into the dashboard, of course. And the glove box is not huge, but it is square, so it can accommodate some items. You do have this strap over here, so you can put something and lock it into place. Pretty useful. I'll also mention that you get a Landmark logo over there, and the Jaguar logo on the carpets as well. You can fit a deodorant can, links for your after gym sessions, and a water bottle as well. Although I must mention that the door bins aren't as huge as in some of the German rivals. You do of course get an automated tailgate with this car, and the boot, it isn't huge, but it is fairly practical, and lifting this up you have some sort of gadgets and stuff that look like they could be useful. Tire pressure kit, I think that is. So yeah, but you can adjust this floor, you can raise it and stuff. Hopefully it goes back into place just like that. You do get a couple of tethering points over here just to hang shopping and stuff off, but I think overall the boot in the Audi A4 is probably more practical, as seen here. I think the boot in the Audi A4 is slightly more square, and you get a couple more tethering points over here and over here, and beneath you get a spare wheel. Nice. In the back isn't the best, as you can see, because of the sloping / sporty roofline. It looks sporty and it is low. Headroom isn't the best. Legroom is okay as well, but overall it just feels slightly cramped in here because the windows are slightly smaller and they are tinted, but that doesn't make a huge difference really. But I have to say, this is a gorgeous view that you get from the back, and you do get vents, and you get a 12-volt socket. So yeah, it's all right. It's not bad. And the door bins, they can fit small bottles of water. So, and you do get cup holders. Unfortunately, they can get in the way of your arm, but it's all you can expect really. You can get double lights, so you can get single lights, and then you can get double. It's also worth mentioning that you get a bezel-less rear view mirror, which really adds to that sporty look and premium feel of this car. With this model you also get this phenomenal Meridian sound system which surrounds the entire car and dashboard and is one of the best in the markets. The bass on this car is absolutely awesome, and in terms of sound quality, yeah, it's right up there with the Bang & Olufsen and the Harman Kardon sound systems. So on near the driver's side, you get this option to increase or decrease your screen brightness. On the left, you get the lane departure warning and the button to open your tailgate. On the center console, you have the climate control systems. This car has dual zone climate control, and this button over here actually is a control for the heated seats, which is actually a weird button that you have to press in order to get the option on the screen. In a Mercedes, it would be on the doors or on the actual physical buttons on the side. So you have to control this function using the screen, which is really not a huge problem, although it might be somewhat difficult whilst you're actually driving. But really, it's something that you'll just get used to. And there's your controls for your ventilations, again on the screen, but you do have a physical button to access that from the screen, so it could be worse. The screen itself is fairly intuitive. It's not the fastest to respond in comparison to the German rivals, but it's fair enough, and it's crisp, and the graphics are respectable. Main infotainment screen, you have the option to look at the the reversing camera. It doesn't look great at the moment. It seems like, I don't know why it looks like that, in all honesty, but maybe if I actually put it into reverse. So putting it into reverse, yeah, there we are. Okay, sorted that out. You have the option to turn off your parking sensors. I wouldn't recommend that at all. Keep them on. If that's worked. Has it worked? I'm not sure. Okay, so you got a nice picture of the Jaguar XE. I think that's one of the performance models. Just turn that off. Oh, I've turned the whole thing off. As you can probably tell, the interface isn't as great in this Jaguar as it is in other German rivals, and I can't seem to get the infotainment screen to come back on, which is a slight shame. Okay, so we're back on. Right, so navigation is it's okay. It's not the best, again, as in the Germans, but the graphics are okay. They're not terrible, and because you do get a 10-inch screen, it is good to use. Again, it takes some time to get used to, and it's slightly awkward in terms of user interface, but with all things, you get used to it. Now let's have a look at the features on the trip computer. So you can select different modes, so driver assistance, collision avoidance, autonomous emergency braking, of course, keep that on. Lane departure warning, recommended to keep that on as well. Speed limit awareness, this is pretty good because it awares you to the speed of the road, and it displays that limit over there, although that is currently incorrect because I am in a parked spot in a parking lot. So next option we have is trip. I'm gonna set it to trip auto. Trip content, so average speed, it shows what you are averaging, shows your trip distance. These are basically the icons you can select to show on the information meter trip units. We're going to use miles per hour, obviously. Go back, display. Here we get to choose what we want to see on this little screen over here. This being the automatic, you get this swivel selector, so you can have it in park, you can have it in reverse, neutral. Having it reverse brings up the rear reversing camera. Neutral, which I don't really use, to be honest. Drive, and then the S to put the car into sports mode. And when you do that, you have to press this button over here to take it right onto the dynamic setting as shown on the screen, which actually illuminates a red light along the rev and the speed counters. So that's interesting. So you obviously have the other options here. You have normal mode confirmed, just seen on the screen over there. You have eco, press it again, and you have rain, ice and snow mode. Okay, so I'm going to take it back to you want to be driving this car mainly in normal mode because it doesn't really it's not very fuel economic. This being the petrol 2-litre Jaguar XE automatic, it can average 38 miles per gallon as Jaguar claims, and obviously that will be a lot lower than the figure you get, which I've been getting 17.2, which, you know, isn't amazing really. But then again, it's not expected to be ridiculously high in this kind of car. This is a 200 brake horsepower car, so it can hit 0 to 60 in 7.2 seconds. Finally, time to take this car on a drive and test it against its forte. There's plenty of adjustments in the steering wheel. There's a little knob to the right which you have to twist, and then it unlocks the steering wheel and you can move it up, down and pull it forward as well. Then you have to lock it back into place, and then we're ready. Okay, let's go for a drive. Obviously this car has the reversing camera. Most of it is automated, so it will start reversing for you as you put it into reverse and let go of the brake. So I've had to open the... How nice. There's a form of a respect that you get from other drivers when you are driving the car. Thank you again. Thank you. And people do look at it, and you know, it does look striking. It looks nice, it looks different. It's not something which is common. So driving normally, the automatic gearbox is very good. It can be slightly jerky at times. It shifts up around 2,500 RPM, so before the engine gets too noisy basically. So here we have a Golf driver driving on the oncoming side, typical. No offense to any Golf drivers or owners. Okay, so this car feels very smooth and comfortable. The seats are very accommodating. Obviously they're heated as well, and that helps. Around the bends and the corners, this car feels good. It feels agile, and yet it does not... Yet there's no noticeable sacrifice of comfort. It's not the best around the corners, but hell, it's not the worst either. And it does have a punch to it when you put your foot down, and that just makes it a little bit more fun to drive over its rivals, such as the Audi A4, unfortunately so, and the Mercedes C-Class. Oh yes. It does have a punchy engine. This is the 200 horsepower 2-litre petrol engine, and when you put your foot down, it knows how to respond, and that's what makes it fun compared to some of its rivals. Unfortunately, that does mean that you may not get the best miles per gallon. Obviously, it depends on which driving mode you have it on, which setting you have it on, and generally, if you're driving normally, then it will average around 35 miles per gallon, no problem whatsoever. Jaguar claim 39, but there is obviously some discrepancies there. Around town, it's absolutely fine. It deals with road humps and potholes fairly well. It is on 18-inch wheels, so which aren't gigantic for this class of car, but they do look amazing, I have to say. And so it feels very comfortable. Even in sports mode, there's no noticeable sacrifice in terms of comfort and letting vibrations through the dashboard as there is in other cars. It does get more looks than your Merc or your Audi or even your BMW will get, and it's on par in terms of how fun it is to drive with a BMW 3 Series or an Alfa Romeo Giulia. And you can use the paddle shifts in this mode. You can use the paddle shifts to manually shift up or down, but you've got to be careful when you're driving slightly erratically, shall we say, because the miles per gallon will obviously drop. Okay, let's cut the speed slightly, because when you are driving this, you will often go over the speed limit without even realizing. Visibility isn't that great in this car, unfortunately. My Audi A4 feels very spacious in the back, and it does have a great visibility through the rear windows, so it doesn't feel as easy to maneuver or to pull out from a junction. However, that being said, it does have a reversing camera fitted and parking sensors, so it shouldn't be a huge problem for most people. But yeah, overall, in terms of driving, this car is very good. It's impressive and it's very fun to drive. One annoying thing about this car is that sometimes the car will arbitrarily beep at times without showing an information message. You're just left wondering, thinking, what on earth is wrong with it? But that often goes away. So yeah, the thing is with the Jaguar XE, it's so unique. It's a lot less common than the German rivals. It just looks amazing, in my opinion. And it's just in a different kind of league. I'm not saying it's better per se than the German rivals, but it's in a different league, as in it has its own kind of class. And it's often sitting in the sidelines. I don't know, I just feel like there's too many bums driving Audis and BMWs these days, completely well and truly undermining the prestige which comes with those brands. Something which Jaguar doesn't really have a problem with. I don't know if I should have said that, but oh well. It's an absolute pleasure to drive. It's probably the most fun executive saloon that I've drove. Yeah, it's so much fun for the amount of brake horsepower that it has. It's fairly quick, as quick as you'd want it to be. But then again, it has that practicality, a bit more room, and that very admirable saloon sedan body shape. In terms of reliability, I can't really make a comment on that. Each car has its own kind of flaws. Each brand has its own flaws, but recently Jaguar reliability has improved. I will be honest in saying that within a few days of driving the car, the engine light did come on, but a couple of days later it went off. And mostly with Jaguar, it's more to do with the electrics that are unreliable more than the mechanics, which is a good thing, I guess, to an extent. Because it's slightly claustrophobic and slightly tighter for the rear passengers, visibility isn't as great either. In terms of looks and in terms of drive, this car excels, and those are two important things when it comes to cars. In my opinion, this is one of the best, most fun and engaging, normal, non-performance saloon cars you can purchase. Guys, if you want to see the video review of the Volkswagen Tiguan R-Line, click up there, and the Audi A3 Saloon Edition 1 model, click up there. Thank you for watching once again. Do subscribe. See you in the next video. Peace. It's gone cold. I can never drink lukewarm tea.